Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video. In this video we're going to take a look at all of the various battle icons in DBZ Dokkan and discuss what they mean. We will also discuss the mechanics connected to them a little bit, but if you want a more in-depth explanation, I'll link my tutorial playlists which cover a little bit more of the maths and some of the finer details. In terms of the battle icons, basically, a lot of them just indicate effects based on passives or certain mechanics that can occur at any given time. These battle icons can be found through the help screen, battles, battle icons, and I highly suggest you take a look at them before you start the game or if you're just coming back after a while. So we'll start at the top. Revive possible, this one's pretty straightforward. Should you see this icon, your character will be able to revive, or your turn will be able to revive should your health get down to 0. Some characters have revive effects that only occur if they are the ones to be knocked out, so if you don't see an icon on all the characters, be careful. KO effects, surviving KO. This is different to revives in that your character, instead of reviving you, will just basically keep you at 1 health should they be hit with a KO attack. It's not the best mechanic because you can be very easily taken out by a follow-up attack, but it can sometimes keep you safe in certain conditions. Transformations, this will show up in a character's passive screen when they have transformations that can occur, or an icon will appear on them should they now be able to transform. Transformations includes exchange abilities and generally is when a character changes state permanently. Giant form, rage mode, giant ape, etc. All of these are when a character can enter a temporary mode called giant ape, giant form, or rage. Rage modes generally only last 1 turn, but giant forms and giant apes can last more than 1 turn. Things like Harudagon, breaking the seal, or anything generally where a character becomes invulnerable over a course of turns will be included here. The thing with giant forms in that is you are invulnerable, but also your character, only that character attacks during the course of the turn. Stunned. The character can be stunned. When a character is stunned, generally it's for 2 turns. If it not, it will be indicated by the character card. Being stunned means a character can't do any further attacks, but also can't perform any actions like healing. Attacking turn delayed, this is very straightforward. The effect causes the opponent or yourself to have your attacks delayed for a full turn. Interruption, this interrupts the very next attack, so unlike stunning, which will interrupt all attacks for the remainder of the turn and the next, unless specified, interruption will only affect the very next attack that a character would take, unless specified by the passive. The difference is they could still potentially heal, etc. Super attack ceiling, this is when a character has the ability to super taken away from them. Super attack ceiling generally is for 2 turns like stunning, unless specified by the card. It's much like a silence in an RPG. Switching disabled, this is an effect that usually is only applied to the player and will prevent you from switching your characters between the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd slot in battle. Attack up and defense up very commonly are just symbols you will see all over the place. Unfortunately, they don't currently differentiate whether it's attack up for allies as well. I'd love them to have a support indicator, but you will see this a lot now because most passives include some base attack and defense generally. So you just see these icons a lot. It's not really something that can be specified and basically occurs whenever any kind of attack up or defense up is occurring. Whether that's turn based, attack based, it doesn't really matter. So the icons aren't too clear. Key up, this includes base key up. So for example, if you see a unit that says I have +3 key in my passive, you'll see this symbol. If you see the next symbol, that means they gain extra key per orb. They might gain an extra key per rainbow orb, they might gain an extra key per type orb, but whatever the mechanic is, they gain extra key under a certain set of situations. Maybe they'll change this to split it up a bit further, but that is generally pretty straightforward as well. Some units will get +1 key, for example, when they collect a type orb. Critical hit or critical hit chance up. This indicates that a unit has a guaranteed critical hit or they have critical hit chance up. If you see that they just have the flat symbol with no arrow next to it, that means that they are guaranteed to critical hit. If you see the symbol up, that means that they have a chance increase. Critical hits bypass type and also bypass defense, but they also apply a multiplier to the critical hit attack that increases its damage. So critical hits are currently the highest form of damage dealing that can occur in the game. They are very, very crucial. If you want to understand a bit more of the maths behind it, you can see my playlist. Additional attack. This indicates a unit will make an additional attack. This includes whether it is a chance at an additional super, whether it is just an additional normal, or whether it is a guaranteed additional super. So this symbol can mean 3 different situations, but basically ultimately what it means is you have a chance at not just doing your basic super that you have in a turn. So as long as you see this, you're either doing additional attacks, additional supers, etc. Attacks effective against all types. This ignores type disability. So what this means is no matter what happens, let's say I have a AGL unit. If that AGL unit attacks a physical unit, it'll do damage like it's a strength unit. If that AGL unit attacks a tech unit, it'll do damage like it's an int unit. This means that you're always getting that advantage, the modifier from type advantage, which is pretty good. Disable guard. This means that you're removing guard from a character. Guard is the ability or type advantage ability that characters have over each other. So if you activate this, for example, with Strength Goku on a AGL character, his follow-up attacks will be treated like he is a type neutral character. It does not mean that he will have effective against all types. So it just disables guard. What's cool with disabling guard is it means every other character also benefits from it as well. Guaranteed hit. This generally you will see more against the player. Some units have guaranteed hit based on certain units that they face, but most times you'll see this against you, and what it means is that you can no longer evade. Basically, the opponent or yourself cannot miss an attack against that enemy. What's super important with this is that there are abilities that can nullify this, and you'll see a different indicator across the mechanism, which you'll see a little bit later on. What's also important to note is that characters that have evade and counter in their passive, like SS4 units, will ignore guaranteed to hit as an effect. So if it says evade and counter, it counts as a nullification, then a counter, and you will still be able to be avoiding getting hit, which is very interesting. Counter attacks, units will counter if hit. Evasion, units will evade attacks. Evasion is really strong as a defensive mechanism unless it's disabled because you take no damage. Guard means that you will be treated as though you are type advantageous. So for example, if I have guard on my character and I'm attacked by a strength unit, I'll be treated like I'm AGL. If I'm attacked by a tech unit, I'll be treated like I'm int. Damage reduction rate. Damage reduction is a mechanic that is very powerful because it reduces the damage after the primary calculations of attack and defense. So it's basically a very strong damage mitigation mechanic. Units with high damage reduction tend to be very tanky. Recovering health. This indicator will show up if a unit has the ability to recover health, whether it's from obtaining orbs or if it's just a flat recovery passive. So a unit might say recovers 5% HP at the end of turn, during turn, beginning of turn, next turn. It will also indicate if they have health gain per orb. Attack attraction. This is a taunt mechanic. This mechanic basically means that your character is currently intercepting all attacks that are occurring during this turn. So even if other characters are being attacked, they will be attacked instead. The icon will appear on the character that is currently attracting the attacks. If you do a new attract attraction mechanism, then that character will get the icon instead and they will replace the previous one. What's also important as well is AoE super attacks will still negate or go through attack attraction. Change key spheres type. This will appear if a unit has the ability to change key spheres. So if they have the ability to change key spheres, this will come into play, which is pretty great. And then, of course, they can change key spheres to rainbow or type or certain types of key spheres, but this will show if they are currently changing key spheres. Then we have key sphere awakening. This indicates when a unit is gaining certain stats or abilities based on key spheres. This will also include things like family Kamehameha or active skills whereby characters gain certain abilities based on key spheres. A lot of the next ones are just attack down, defense down, damage reduction down, etc. So these icons are pretty self-explanatory, being the previous icons with a down arrow. Trance time. So this indicates that your defense is now 0. This is currently a mechanism that only appears on bosses because it indicates that there's a time or chance for you to do increased damage. Here's a symbol you probably have never seen before, being negative effect nullification. This one is a very rare symbol, and we might see more play of it in future, but what it does is it allows you to basically negate effects such as stunned, sealing, and switching effects. And this is something you'll probably see a lot more on units that players can get in future, because it means that bosses will not be able to seal that character or stun that character or prevent them from switching. So it's something that you're probably going to see more on the player side. Stun immunity, you cannot stun the character. If a character gains stun immunity while they are stunned, it will remove the stun. The same rule applies for sealing. So if a character is immune to super attack sealing, we've seen that in the latest Red Zone with Perfect Cell from the Android Cell saga. If you gain super attack immunity while you're sealed, it will remove the seal you currently have. Then we have a ton of the negation mechanisms, so negating guaranteed hit, negating attack down, negating lower, etc., etc. Two very important symbols is immunity to blast super attacks. What this means is that if a character has this symbol, you cannot use blast super attacks against them. They will negate your damage to 0. And then you have negation against unarmed super attacks. This means that if you try to hit them with unarmed super attacks, those will be negated. Attacks that are classified as other, meaning they don't have a key or unarmed nullification, cannot be nullified, so you don't have to worry. These symbols are important because they appear not only in your passives when you are examining characters, but also in the battlefield and also, of course, on bosses. So understanding them is crucial to giving you an insight into what characters, bosses, and everyone does. The detail screens usually will give you enough detail, but knowing them offhand is pretty helpful.